Hello, hello, good morning. Happy Thursday, June the 5th. I am the very hoarse Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You are tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI show for short, because we bring you, obviously, way too much information. Could be periods sometimes, Ted. We talked about that this week. Just
Or
a
blood
lot of
orgies.
TMI. Blood orgies, Santeria,
Who hasn't
and
been
some
to a blood
news.
orgy, though?
Weird stuff on this show. So, we are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So please be sure to like and follow this show wherever you're consuming this content. We have just published another premium Rumble Premium episode that you have to be a Rumble Premium subscriber. So if you're in the position to do so, you're watching on Rumble. If you're not watching on Rumble, switch over to Rumble. Hit that red Rumble Premium button right below my big talking head here, and join the chorus of people who are trying to watch stuff that YouTube won't allow. That's where you find it. Our latest episode on Rumble Premium was with my old buddy Lionel of Lionel Media. You know, he's a legal scholar, analyst, former lawyer. Actually, I think he's still current lawyer. But we get into some weird stuff. And he and Ted kind of butt heads a little bit. So those two are being rams, and I'm horse today. So that's the barnyard theme. And we'll talk about, I don't know, I think some other wild horseplay, wild issues at the White House. The horse has left the barn. I don't know what other.
Oh, the cat is in the oven.
Maybe the
cat
MAGA,
is out of
MAGA
the bag.
world.
Why was the cat in the bag? The cat didn't want to be in the bag.
Well, that's true. MAGA world is kind of like really shook right now, Ted, because just the other day, Elon Musk having a billionaire blowout with Trump right now over the big, beautiful bill. Now we've got little Ben Shapiro and we've got Mark Levine. Does he pronounce it Levin? Levine.
Oh, no. It's Levin if there's no E at the end.
Is he an E? I don't even know.
No,
but anyway.
if there's an E at the end, it's Levine. It's not even Levine or Levine.
What does he go by? Mark? I don't know. I don't watch him. So
Robbie's saying Lavin. Nah,
really?
That can't.
He's what is it, Robbie?
Maybe he's mispronouncing his own name. You know, some people do mispronounce their own names.
It's Levin. Levin.
Is there an E at the end?
Hell, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, well.
Okay.
Then
listen, I'm from the South. Do you expect me to spell? What the hell's wrong with you?
So Levin must be, right?
Yeah. Well, it's on the
Levin. Okay.
Yes, he calls himself the Great One, Mark Levin. That's what Sean Hannity calls him. That walking douchebag. That Great One, Mark Levin.
I didn't even know that one. Okay, well, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit later.
This is my world, right? I mean, before I got red pilled, before I woke up, realized it was just a big old con. I used to listen to those douchebags. It's like, yeah, Republicans, apple pie, wave the flag. And I realized that these people are screwing me more than the Democrats are. To pox on both their houses.
Explain that position a little bit later in the show. Obviously, it's not my world, and I may not have a voice by the end of the show. So there's that. All right, Levin. Thanks, Robbie. Okay, so that's that. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but we're going to give you some news updates first. For example, the Boulder terror suspect, his family, apparently not getting deported, even though Kristi Noem said they're getting deported tonight, bitches. I'm pretty sure that's how she said it, Ted.
Yeah, that's that's a precise quote.
That was an exact quote. A new travel ban 2.0. Laos?
Well, you know they're the fucking worst.
WTF.
Laotians are the worst people. Evil, depraved, frequent attendees at blood orgies, Santeria, witches, assassins, terrorists.
We'll tell you who's on that list. Maybe you're
purveyors of Laotian food.
Watching.
They're evil.
True. All that sticky rice. Like, what is wrong with those people? Eating rice with their hands? What the? So we'll tell you who else is on that list and kind of dig into that a little bit. And also, I think, Ted, you'll be really into this. The whole Biden auto pen question.
Oh, I'm into it. And you know, I'm gonna drop one on you. You know, I can't believe we didn't put this, but I'm just insisting. We have to talk about Columbia, my alma mater.
Oh yes. Because you're
Donald Trump
a graduate of an unaccredited school.
That's right. Like literally, it's as if I went to beauty school, as it turns out. As of
Good
yesterday.
job, Ted.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Ted, you have this cute degree from this like fake university.
Fake college. Yeah. It's like not as legit as Trump University.
You might as well have gone to Trump University.
Might as well. Or yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And hung a Trump steak on your wall.
That's right. That's exactly well, I would have eaten that Trump steak because I do like steak. I don't know if those Trump steaks were any good. I don't know. I have no idea.
I've actually, a few years back, like during the first...
You ate a Trump steak?
No, not me. I had a friend that ordered at Christmas time during the first Trump era, ordered Trump steaks for like, I guess he was hosting a dinner or something and that I wasn't invited to. But he ordered like a box of Trump steaks.
And did he tell you if they were any good?
He said they were very, very pleasantly surprised that it was a really good quality steak. I don't even know if it's still in business, but at the time, like 8 years ago, it was.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I mean, I have no idea. But if I had to guess, I'm guessing it's not around anymore.
Oh, I have no idea. But anyway, so we'll get into that before Robbie hops on and explains this MAGA fight, this internal MAGA fight. It's like brother versus brother, and we'll get into that. So with that, let's hop into the news.
Let's do it. So as Manila said, Trump on yesterday, he signed a proclamation that bans travelers and immigrants from about 12 countries and restricting the entry of nationals of another 7, claiming that it's all about national security. So people from Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen are no longer allowed to come to the United States. With certain exemptions, he also is prohibiting those citizens of those countries who want to come as legal immigrants from coming at all. No temporary visa holders, no tourists, nobody. Trump doesn't want you here. He also suspended partially the entry of travelers and immigrants from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, the worst country in the world, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. I have to admit, we're going to get into this. I do not understand this list. That part of his proclamation applies to all immigrants from those countries with visas to settle in the U.S. permanently, as well as temporary visa holders. This goes into effect 12 midnight on Monday. Trump says this is all about terrorism, inadequate vetting of people who come from those countries, and lack of cooperation on deportations among some of the countries. His decree does contain some exemptions: U.S. permanent residents, spouses and children of U.S. citizens who have clear and convincing evidence of identity and family relationship, Afghans who were traitors, who helped out U.S. forces and have special visas, diplomats, athletes, hilariously, and dual nationals with a passport from a country not listed in the proclamation. So if you're from Turkmenistan and Belgium, no problem. The announcement of the ban follows that, of course, terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, against marchers who were marching to release the hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza. He's from Egypt, and he overstayed his tourist visa.
And nowhere on that list is Egypt.
And Egypt, however, is still okay.
Which is interesting. Just like we didn't, after 9/11, didn't ban Saudi travelers or Egyptian travelers. Kind of interesting. Well, let's hear from President Trump. Let's hear from our fearless leader. How does he explain himself? I wonder, Ted.
Can he explain himself?
I wonder. Like Togo, they have a really cool flag.
Do they? What's their flag?
you
This is
didn't
a
see it
Scott
just now?
Stantis question. As the resident vexillologist.
So,
oh, by the way, look, they got the flags wrong.
What do you mean?
That's not Afghanistan's flag.
Oh.
Afghanistan's flag, that's the old flag before the Taliban came to power. That's the Northern Alliance flag. The Taliban flag is white, and it has the same thing that the Saudi flag has, that script. But the Saudi flag has that white on green. The Afghan flag has that black on white. So that's the old pre-2021 flag.
Well, where's my Togo flag? I can't believe. Oh, you were reading. Duh, you can't see that. Here. Look at the Togo flag down here.
Oh, with the star and the green.
That's kind of fun.
Stripes. That's a cool flag. I like the Laotian flag. That's a cool flag too.
You think so? I mean, it's okay.
It's cool. The Burundi flag is also cool.
That's pretty cool. I actually like the colors of the Sierra Leone flag.
The Turkmenistan flag is bizarre, but it's really not a good flag, I gotta say.
Not for a flag. I feel like it would make like a good like T-shirt or something.
But Turkmenistan is not like a place with radical Islamists. It's it's a dictatorship, but that has nothing to do with anything. That doesn't affect the people. I mean, it's very strange.
Before we judge POTUS, let's hear from the man. He put out a statement after he signed this executive order, and let's see what he says. Maybe he is reasonable, Ted. Maybe we missed something. Maybe we just it's possible.
What a tee up. All right, let's hear it.
Genius.
I know this is
the recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them. In the 21st century, we've seen one terror attack after another carried out by foreign visa overstayers from dangerous places all over the world. And thanks to Biden's open door policies, today there are millions and millions of these illegals who should not be in our country. In my first term, my powerful travel restrictions were one of our most successful policies, and they were a key part of preventing major foreign terror attacks on American soil. We will not let what happened in Europe happen to America. That's why on my first day back in office, I directed the Secretary of State to perform a security review of high-risk regions and make recommendations for where restrictions should be imposed. Among the national security threats their analysis considered are the large-scale presence of terrorists, failure to cooperate on visa security, inability to verify travelers' identities, inadequate record keeping of criminal histories, and persistently high rates of illegal visa overstays, and other things. Very simply, we cannot have open migration from any country where we cannot safely and reliably vet and screen those who seek to enter the United States. That is why today I am signing a new executive order placing travel restrictions on countries including Yemen, Somalia, Haiti, Libya, and numerous others. The strength of the restrictions we're applying depends on the severity of the threat posed. The list is subject to revision based on whether material improvements are made, and likewise, new countries can be added as threats emerge around the world. But we will not allow people to enter our country who wish to do us harm, and nothing will stop us from keeping America safe. Thank you very much.
Okay. So as one of the literally small handful of Lao Americans in this country with relatives in Laos, that I don't remember anyone having any
otherwise known as the
plans.
Terror basket of Southeast Asia.
Apparently, absolutely, Ted, the landlocked terror threshold for all of Asia.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we forget because it's not true is that 9/11 came out of Laos.
That is true. That is true that we didn't know that 9/11 was actually planned
in Laos.
In Laos, in the caves of Laos, where the same caves where the villagers were the villagers were hiding when the CIA was raining bombs on them for 10 years straight, every 8 minutes.
Well, evil comes out of caves because caves are holes in the ground, and anything can happen in a hole in the ground.
Bats are in there. Only bad things come out of caves. Bats
snakes,
and bears.
Spiders.
And Bin Laden types. Bats, bears, and Bin Ladens. So, yeah,
crocodiles in some cases.
I don't know. I know that he has a thing against Venezuela, so I kind of get that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sierra Leone, they're raining down their terror of blood diamonds into this country.
True.
Laos, again, we just pointed to the fact that Laos obviously planned 9/11, and they haven't really caught the true Osama bin Laden.
Also, don't forget it was Laotians who killed, Nicole Simpson.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
They never found that Lao.
OJ died looking for the Laotian real killer.
It was the maid. It was the Lao maid lady.
Mm-hmm.
Cuba, we know there's always been U.S. beef with Cuba. Mm-hmm. Burundi, why? Togo, Turkmenistan.
It's very mysterious.
Why?
What did Togo do? Yeah,
I don't know. And okay, so Equatorial Guinea. What have they done?
Libya and Somalia and Sudan and Yemen are all basically failed states or war zones
that we bombed and
very
broke
unstable.
Up.
I could see why those immigrants would be a little problematic. But
Iran, this is our current beef right now. Iran, okay, full restriction, and Ted, there are a lot of Persians here in DC and in LA. I know a lot of Persians.
Sure.
They're going to be pissed that their family can't come visit. Pissed. But I guess par for the course because they are usually not Trump supporters anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But like Haiti, we know they eat your dogs and cats.
By the way, I can't believe they call it Burma. It's not called Burma.
I know it. He called it Burma on the thing
It hasn't been Burma, I think, since 1980. It's been nearly 50 years. I heard the news today. Oh boy. Come on, get with the program.
We got our colors inspired by their flag because I think their flag is fun, but it's also the same colors as Republic of Congo. I can't understand. Haiti, obviously, Ted, because they're eating your Clovises. They're eating your cats.
That's true. I've already lost several cats to the Haitians. So
ban them, obviously.
Yes.
So,
by the way, their flag is atrocious. Just saying.
Who? Haiti?
Haiti's flag. It blows. It's kind of like the flag of the city of New York. It sucks.
But, I'm not thrilled with the Somalia flag either.
I kind of like it. I like its simplicity.
No, it's so blasé. Bleh.
Well, I like that color. I like that sort of grayish light blue.
Yeah, it's like a baby blue. Not thrilled.
Well,
but
I
anyway.
like how completely the reputation of Somalia is in complete opposition to its very sort of mild-mannered flag.
I do like the Yemen colors. I have a dress that literally it looks like the top portion of my dress is their flag. But anyway, I get why some of these where he could say, okay, we don't want people from these countries. The biggest thing is if you are pegging this to the Boulder, Colorado attack guy, right? If this is your peg, that's your news peg. Why is Egypt not on the list?
It's a good question. Considering he was from, Egypt. And not to mention, Egypt really does have a major radical Islamist movement. There are radical Muslims there. There have been terror attacks. Al-Qaeda has been active there for many years. So, I'm not saying that Egyptians are dangerous. That's not true. But it's there is an insurgency there. I wouldn't say it's an insurgency, but there are terrorist, far right, extreme Islamists there. So I don't know. It's bizarre. It's more xenophobia. I just got to say, Donald Trump really seems determined to not only make America great again, but to make America only American again, because no one's going to want to come here. I mean, there's already tourism from Canada.
Smiling when you
tourism from Canada is way down. Places like New York and San Francisco and LA that are dependent on tourism for business, they're going to lose. People just aren't going to come here. They're getting harassed at the airport. It's like the message is out. Like, even if you're not from one of these countries, you're just sort of like thinking, God, the Americans, they just aren't welcoming. They don't want tourism.
Right. They hate everybody, those Americans.
Yeah, we really have a bad rep.
Yeah, but to be fair, not that we hadn't earned it, but Americans abroad, everybody likes our money abroad, but nobody likes the Americans that carry the money with them, because they all think we're assholes. But we tip wherever we go because it's part of our culture.
True.
But so this whole thing, did you find any answers in POTUS's explanation?
No. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy.
Didn't.
So, it's probably people who are smarter than me could figure this out. But
Well, Ted, you went to a bullshit school. Obviously.
That's true.
You're
true.
a dumbass.
That's right. It's been, as of yesterday, I officially my degree was decredited.
So, yeah, I have a lot of questions, and none of them were answered. And I thought POTUS would, 2.5 minutes would tell us.
We got to save your voice. We've got to save your voice.
Why?
We got to get going. All right. Trump also ordered yesterday, busy boy, he ordered a broad investigation into whether Joe Biden covered up his cognitive decline, or perhaps more accurately, other people in the White House covered up his cognitive decline while he was president, and he was incapable of executing presidential decisions. An unprecedented investigation that could theoretically undermine thousands of Biden's executive actions and pardons. So the order is focusing in part on whether his use of the auto pen, which is a machine that uses ink to duplicate a human signature, often like when you write to a member of Congress and you get a letter back, it uses an auto pen to sign the congressman's name, on executive actions was legit, or whether his aides used the auto pen to cover up because Biden wasn't capable of signing the documents himself. Now, presidents have used auto pens in the past to sign executive orders. And Trump has also said that he used it for routine correspondence, which isn't really the same thing as signing an executive order. But Trump's assertion that Biden's use of the auto pen may be problematic actually is in conflict with guidance that came out from 2005 from the Justice Department. Office of Legal Counsel back then said that a president doesn't have to personally sign his signature on an official document for it to be considered valid. Trump is taking aim in his order at the pardons that Biden issued in the final days of his presidency. He commuted the death sentences of 37 out of 40 people on federal death row. So now they're serving life. In recent months, it's become increasingly apparent that Biden's aides accuse the power of presidential signatures through the use of an auto pen to conceal Biden's cognitive decline and assert Article 2 authority, Trump wrote. So Trump and his aides are increasingly focused on Biden. They're riffing off of Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson's new book, Original Sin. And Biden, of course, also, who was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, as we know, declined noticeably throughout his term as president. Not that he started out that great to begin with. And under Biden, the White House issued 1,200 presidential documents, appointed 235 judges to the bench, and issued more pardons and commutations than any administration in U.S. history. Probably not the total number of people pardoned, though. That has to go to Jimmy Carter when he pardoned the Vietnam draft dodgers. But so, Manila, I think what's interesting here is, okay, presidents can use an auto pen. And let's just say, for example, Trump is at Mar-a-Lago. and he calls up and he says like, oh yeah, I'd like to pardon all the Laotian terrorists like Manila Chan. And so, but I can't get back to the White House. You guys can use an auto pen to do that. That's totally okay, as long as it's clear that he knew it was being signed. Like as long as the president says. So if Biden was like in Delaware, or for that matter in the White House, but whatever, he's like, yeah, go ahead and auto pen that. I don't have time to take care of it. And he is aware of it, and he's of sound mind and body. No muss, no fuss. It's just like using DocuSign on your computer. The problem is, what if one of those two things isn't true? What if Biden didn't know, or what if Biden knew, but he wasn't of sound mind and sound body? Then the question is, and this is a question, and I don't know the answer. The question is, would those documents be valid? I mean, personally, I don't think they ought to be. I would say, like, if something is signed under your name and you don't know it was you, and personally, I don't even think they should be
wouldn't
using
that be
the
classified as forging?
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, yeah. So, I mean, I would say that if let's say he signed an auto pen was used to sign a bill, he was unaware. I would say that bill's not valid. You know, I mean, it's like, look, I mean, you can't get an auto loan without signing the document. You can't buy a house without signing the document. Your check won't clear, theoretically, if that's not your signature at the bottom of the check. How is this any different?
That's what it boils down to, right? Is whether, like, the auto, yes, in and of itself, the presidential use of the auto pen is legal, but the 25th Amendment portion of all of this comes into play is, should he have been 25th Amendmented out
100%.
of office? So because of his mental inacuity. So because of that, is it null and void that he was using the auto pen? I think Trump actually there's some meat on those bones. I actually think there's something there. And looks like our old buddy Ed Martin is spearheading this whole investigation over at the DOJ. How about that?
Well, this investigation, honestly, the investigation into Biden needs to be fulsome. I just issued my column for this week. I think the Democrats actually ought to lead an investigation into what happened here. It would really help them crawl out of the gutter in terms of their polls if they were to show some transparency and say, we're going to hold our own people accountable. But obviously,
I agree, but they're
James
not.
Comer, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Republican, has promised some oversight here, long overdue. Also, I guess Trump also. Look, it's going to be a political process. Nothing could be more political, but it can't be helped. I mean, the American people need to know who was running the country for 4 years. And I don't think we really know the answer to that.
Look, do you remember this when Joe Biden, when his family enlisted that Italian care nurse?
Yes.
Right there?
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Maloney, I think is her name. Every time they went out in Europe, she was like his charge d'affaires.
Mm-hmm.
She was his care nurse, Georgia Maloney. That's really cute. But I personally think, I don't have full evidence, but just because of the magic of sight and watching this very closely, there she is chasing after him again, right? But I really think he barely had it in him the first year in office, that his marbles were at all there.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very obviously and noticeably, there was a fall off the cliff on the second year. And I really, really get this feeling that, like, it was his family, that it was Jill Biden and even Hunter involved in decision making, because Hunter was under, investigations of stuff. He had lawsuits against him, and suddenly all of these, I guess we can call them free passes for a lot of people that are kind of around the orbit of the entire family, all these people are suddenly like free and clear. Everybody's free and clear. Like you're pre-party, you're pre-pardoned, you're pre-pardoned. And I don't think it was Biden himself. I don't think it was Big Papa that did it. I think Hunter. I think it was Hunter's idea, because why would his business partners, like, why would their names be mentioned? That's weird.
That's true. Well, I mean, Hunter could have asked his dad to do that, though, right? I mean, okay, we have an ad. Robbie, please put that up, and we'll go ahead and read that. I think the bottom line is we need to get down to the bottom of it. It's less than an ideal situation whenever the clown in chief, Trump, decides to ask for an investigation. But look, it's got to happen. So
I'm cheering on our buddy Ed Martin to get to the bottom of it. And,
all right, here we go.
I'm all for it.
All right, ad time. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now it's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin-free and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler that says, "I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch." $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. Okay, so let's move on because, Manila, we're trying to save your voice here. On Wednesday, U.S. District Judge Gordon Gallagher blocked the deportation of the family of Mohammed Salman, who was, of course, the illegal immigrant charged with perpetrating the Colorado terror attack last Sunday. ICE seized the family, consisting of Salman's wife and 5 kids, into custody on Tuesday for expedited removal from the U.S. The court finds that the deportation without process could work irreparable harm, and an order must issue without notice due to the urgency this situation presents, Gallagher wrote in his decision. Something occurred to me about this topic. The cruelty is obvious, but what's even more insane is, so wait, we're keeping the terrorist in the U.S., but the terrorist's wife and kids who've committed no crime, they get thrown out. Yes, the alleged terrorist. However, think about that. I mean, it seems to me like if you were going to be consistent, you'd be like, all right, we're throwing the terrorist out, sending him to El Salvador or whatever. Bye. And with the kids and the wife. But it's like we're literally keeping him in the U.S. He could escape. Look at what happened in New Orleans. He could escape and run out and start setting other old Jews on fire. And then meanwhile, the kid, he and himself. And meanwhile, that was Trump's plan. I mean, it's really incoherent.
Well, it's as coherent as putting Laos and Togo on the partial ban list, or
yes,
I'm a bad commentator today because I have no words. I have no answers. I can't come to any logical conclusion as to why, other than I think maybe the one thing that Kristi Noem might have been hopeful and excited about was, well, if the terror dad had an overstayed expired visa, then probably the wife and children do too. So nab 'em. I will get you, my pretty, and your little dog too. So they probably took the dog too. I'm just guessing. But that really just sucks. Like those people, the wife and the 5 children didn't do anything. You don't even know if they're complicit. You don't know. It just sucks. It just sucks for the children. I mean, they they should be given due process as well, especially since I don't think they committed any crimes other than overstaying a visa, and in which case you don't rush expedite the deportation.
It's not legal to do so, and that's what the judge has said.
So,
hopefully the Trump administration won't do what they usually do in these matters, which is to ignore a clear and direct federal court order and do whatever the hell they want, and then just sort of say, oh, oopsie, they're gone. Nothing.
No, they're in the air. They're in the air. Can't stop now.
Yeah,
plane can't turn around. Plane only goes one way.
Yeah, planes don't turn around. They go in a straight line. That's it. And once a plane leaves the United States, it never comes back.
Which is
why flying is so expensive. I mean, every plane is disposable.
It's just one path. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like on Zoolander. Remember when Ben Stiller's like, oh, I can only turn left when he does the runway walk. Airplanes can't turn back around.
Nope.
Ted.
No.
Same thing.
And the thing is, I for one have to say, I demand a federal investigation into why Boeing and other companies are building so many planes, and then every other country gets to keep them. We fly somewhere, they keep the plane, and we're like, oh God, we got to build more planes. I think Boeing is lying to us. I think they're just doing this to make more money. Just saying.
That must be it. It's almost like a very capitalist society, and in which the seats on those Boeing planes, or any plane for that matter, like they could make them better and roomier, but they don't.
But what would be the point of that? Besides which, you're just giving the plane to other countries where people are smaller. So they're making the seats for them, really.
That's true. The Salvadorians are much smaller.
Yeah.
So when we fly everyone to CCOT,
Yeah, it's all part of the great cycle of life.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We figured this out. All right.
I think so.
All right. So, and now
on this one, we got to bring Robbie in.
Yeah, and Robbie should just tee up this story. And I'm going to grab some coffee because I'm dying for coffee while Robbie tees this up. I'll be right back.
Okay, Robbie, I'm popping you on. Robbie, you have to read the Tucker post on this, because this is, I'm not part of the MAGA world. I'm not even a Republican. So I don't think I fully understand the rage from either side of the conservative angle, the conservative perspective. Is that the right term? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Why are you guys all pissed off about this?
I don't think it's even a conservative.
Levin.
Levin. It's Mark Levin.
And Shapiro and Tucker.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and read this post real quick. I'm going to get into it. And I'm going to read Tucker's post first. It's a little bit long. On the screen. And I got a Southern drawl, so I'll just bear with me. But it gets to the heart of the whole issue. All right. Okay. So this is Tucker. Mark Levin was at the White House today lobbying for war with Iran. To be clear, Levin has no plans to fight in this or any other war. He's demanding that American troops do it. We need to stop Iran from building nuclear weapons. He and like-minded ideologues in Washington are now arguing. They're just weeks away. If this sounds familiar, it's because the same people have been making the same claim since at least the 1990s. It's a lie. In fact, there's zero credible intelligence that suggests Iran is anywhere near building a bomb or has plans to. None. Anyone who claims otherwise is ignorant or dishonest. If the U.S. government knew Iran was weeks away from possessing a nuclear weapon, we'd be at war already. Iran knows this, which is why they aren't building one. Iran also knows it's unwise to give up its weapons program entirely. Muammar Gaddafi tried that and wound up sodomized with the bayonet. Side note, Benjamin Netanyahu is demanding Iran adopt the Libya model, which I just read to you. As soon as Gaddafi disarmed, NATO killed him. Iran's leaders saw that happen. They learned the obvious lesson. So why is Mark Levin once again hyperventilating about weapons of mass destruction? To distract you from the real goal, which is regime change. Young Americans heading back to the Middle East to topple yet another government. Virtually no one will say this out loud. America's record of overlooking foreign leaders is so embarrassingly counterproductive that regime change has become a synonym for disaster. Officially, no one supports it. So instead of telling the truth about their motives, they manufacture hysteria. A country like Iran can never have the bomb. They'll nuke Los Angeles. We have to act now. They don't really mean this, and you can tell they don't by what they emit. At least two of Iran's neighbors, both Islamic nations, already have nuclear weapons. The fact should scare the hell out of Mark Levin, yet for some reason he never mentions it. How come? Because it's not the weapon he hates, it's the ideology of the Iranian government, which is why he's lobbying to overthrow it. So do you want me to keep going or stop? Because there's a lot.
Keep going. There's only a couple.
Don't keep going because it's so long.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot there. And I mean, that's kind of unpacking the whole thing. And just to kind of get started, like this whole thing about the Trump administration going after Biden, this is a distraction. Trump is having a very bad week. All right, let's face it.
He hasn't talked to the media since last Friday, by the way, which is weird.
Well, I mean, so here's the division in MAGA world. So you have your
Biden.
You have your fiscal types like Elon Musk is kind of going crazy because Trump wants to add more to the debt. Then you have real America First people.
Also, Elon Musk has a self-interested matter here.
Of course.
Bill is getting rid of federal subsidies for electric vehicles.
Yeah, which hurts him.
Is obviously not pleased about that.
No, 100%. But I mean that's the wrapping that he's using it for. Is like, no, we're adding to the debt. We're going to turn ourselves into debt slaves. Newsflash, you already are debt slaves. And then you have Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, who are real, honest to God, America First people. And Trump's lashing out on both of them, which is kind of crazy because during Russiagate, the only Republican senator who stood behind Trump was Rand Paul when Trump was politically dead. And so that's how Trump rewards that loyalty, is by going all after Rand Paul. Said people of Kentucky don't like him, which is obviously false because Rand Paul keeps winning elections. So, say as you will. But no, I mean, really what this all boils down to is how is going to war with Iran good for America? And that's the whole point of the thumbnail. The Trump administration, for one, has no organization whatsoever. And it's like, instead of America first, we're going to go Israel instead. And that is the big split. And the fact that you have, two of the major Republican commentators, I'm not calling them conservative. I'm calling them Republican. And that is a deliberate choice. This is where, and I'm probably get myself in trouble here, but I'm going to call it like I see it, like I always do. This is where that whole accusation of dual loyalty comes in. You have two Jewish Zionists, Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, advocating that the American military man go to war with Iran for Israel against Israel's enemy when there is zero, I repeat, zero national interest in the United States to do so. Matter of fact, it's our disinterest. If Iran gets attacked and they start blowing up oil refineries, at the low end, we'll be paying $30 a gallon per gas. I project this will be significantly more. So they want us to destroy the global economy for their Zionist project. That's the split. And so you got to ask yourself why. If you're America first, that makes no sense. But if you're Israel first, but you're masquerading as an American patriot, it makes perfect sense. That's what this is. And that's the split in MAGA. That's the fight.
Robbie, are some of these, I mean, well, okay. So let's take the Jewish thing out of it. I mean, the U.S. supports foreign countries all the time. We're currently supporting Ukraine against Russia, and so on. Is the Israel thing different in MAGA world compared to, say, the project of sending billions of dollars to, say, Ukraine, for example, or for that matter, supporting NATO? These are all basically about sending money and resources and taking military risks overseas on behalf of other countries that are not us and that could blow back and bite us in the ass, instead of prioritizing national and domestic needs. What's the difference when it comes to Israel?
Well, that's just the thing. Like, you really can't take the Jewish thing out of this, because Israel has something that Ukraine doesn't have. They have AIPAC. They have the Jewish National Council. They have a very powerful lobby that they call, not my words, it's their words, the Jewish lobby. So let's just use the words that they already use. Rand Paul has been not Rand Paul. Thomas Massey has been primaried twice by AIPAC. You have American congressmen who wear the uniform of a foreign nation in the American Capitol.
They have their flag in their offices.
In their office, advocating that the American taxpayer fund to the tune of billions of dollars in foreign aid every year, in addition to the military assistance that they're getting. No other nation has that. And you are touching a third rail when you bring this thing up. It is a fact. You can criticize Ukraine. You can criticize, like for example, how y'all are talking about, why isn't Egypt on the travel ban list? Well, we fund Egypt's government. So how could you possibly ban Egyptian nationals coming to your country when you are actually funding and propping up their government? Doesn't make any sense. It's the same thing with Israel. And that's the part that people do not want to face, because it makes people uncomfortable. They pound that white guilt button. Oh, you're being anti-Semite. You're being a racist. You're being a bigot. It's none of those things. I want to know why it is that Congressman Flass from Pensacola talks about how it is a beautiful thing to see American taxpayers pay for bombs used to kill Palestinian kids. That would not happen in any other country. Ugh. But here, though, if you say it, you immediately get hit with that racist brush, and I'm not going to have it anymore. That's the split. I mean, Ted Manila, y'all know this. I could be homeless this time 2 months from now. My rent's going up by $600 if I don't find another place. And I'm not unique in this situation. Tens of thousands of Americans are facing the exact same problem. And so the question that we have is, we are literally struggling here trying to figure out how the hell we're going to provide housing and pay for our bills. Well, our government is doubling down with not only the full-throated support of a foreign nation, but actively planning to wage a war that would disrupt the global economy on its behalf. And the whole time, the people who are cheerleading this say they are American patriots. It's the patriotic thing to do, is to go and send your children to go fight for God's chosen people over there in the Middle East. And I say no. And millions of people in the MAGA world say no. We have veterans living under every sinking bridge. We're coming up on $37 trillion on the national debt. We cannot afford this. So what do? You got to pick something. You got to pick a side here, Mr. Trump. Are you America first or not?
So here's
pick
the thing.
A side.
Trump has employed to his cabinet basically everybody from Fox News, including the weekend people like Pete Hegseth. Judge Janine is like, just so I'm obviously he has like it's like this constant feedback loop between the White House and Fox News, and Sean Hannity often brags that he talks to POTUS like every day. I don't know if that's true.
It's a con job. It's a con
job.
I mean,
but so he's talking to, when we all know, based on the first 4 years of Trump, that he flips the switch or drops on a dime and goes in the other direction based on the last person who was in his ear. So if Mark Levin is the last guy in his ear telling him, you have to go to war with Iran. And why is it, by the way, that both Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin are both really nasally sounding, and they all talk like this? Like, that's really weird. Ben Shapiro sounds just like that, but he talks about 1,000,000 miles an hour like this, and he talks really fast like the Micro Machines guy. And he just has so much to say, I guess. But they both have really nasally voices. Have you guys noticed that? I can't listen to either of them for that reason.
Yeah, and listen, I'm trying to be very, very judicious with what I say. And for people who are going to be out there saying, well, Robbie's just been an anti-Semite, I'm not. Okay. I don't care where you're from, I do not care.
What religion you practice.
I do not care. It does not impact me. What impacts me is that whenever you have a lobby, and let's be honest, AIPAC is a foreign lobby. They advocate for a foreign nation. I don't care what the rules say. I mean, that is what they are. When you have Kristi Noem going to Israel, getting on her knees like a bitch in heat, that is a clear sign that the American administration is not for the American people. So if they're not for the American people, who are they for? The Bible is very clear. You cannot serve two masters. You're going to serve the one or hate the other. The American people need to wake up. And if the argument's going to be that there's someone controlling the government whenever Joe Biden was in charge, which is obviously true. If Trump is so screwed in the head that he's going to do whatever the last person says to do, he's not in charge of his own faculties either. He is serving another interest. And it is time for the American people to wake the hell up. The Republican Party is not your friend. I had learned that the hard way. Listen, I was one of you. I was there. I grew up. You know, I didn't grow up in the church. I got saved when I was in my mid-20s, late 20s. And I believed all this dispensational Zionist crap. Oh, you got to bless Israel or God's going to curse you. And then I actually read the Bible for myself the first time. It does not say that. Wake up. Wake up. These people hate you. They hate you. They want to. It would be bad enough if our government wanted to send our sons and now our daughters, which is another topic, which is an abomination, to go fight these foreign wars on the other side of the world that most Americans can't even find on a map. It's worse than that.
Hey, Ukrainian pregnant women are doing it.
Well, it's suicide, but it's even worse. Why should the American army be a mercenary force to go fight the war for another nation? If Israel is so great, if it's so strong, if it is blessed by God through divine providence, they can fight their own fucking wars. They can fight their own wars. My son turned 16 this year. I have a vested interest in this. I don't want him 2 years from now to be drafted to go fight over there in the sandbox. For what? For what? What's in it for him? Manila, your son 12 years from now, what's in it for him? He's already in debt up to his eyeballs. His life hasn't started yet. This is the problem. And that weasel right there on the screen, that weasel right there on the screen, he has done more to hurt the American people than any Yemeni Houthi shooting rockets or drones. That man has been responsible for the deaths of millions of people through the information and propaganda war. He cheerleaded the Iraq wars, both of them. He's cheerleaded Afghanistan. He's cheerleaded all this stuff. What do we have to show for it? What do we have to show for it? We have 40 veterans every day committing suicide because they can't get the health care that they need, because they're screwed in the head, because they went and did all this crap on the other side of the world. Meanwhile, we're pushing every ism that there is: transgenderism, open borders, H-1B visas, all for the benefit of a small corporate oligarch, a corporate oligarchy that wants to turn you at best into cattle. At worst, they want to erase you. Can we just call it what it is?
So let me ask you, Robbie, because you are, I would assume that you typically, when you vote for Republicans, right?
I should vote for. To be honest, I vote on the platform of the person. It's kind of a mixed bag. I vote for a lot of independents, libertarians, Democrats are not insane. I mean, for me, it's about the person, not the party. Now, if you're pushing a tranny, I'm going to vote against you. If you're on the other side of it, though, if you're pushing for an Israel first agenda, I'm going to vote against you too.
I can't believe you just said that. It's the holy month.
would you vote for a trans person if they were America first in your view?
No, because that person's insane.
What if they were like, oh, we have to stop supporting Israel. We have to start.
They said all the right things.
They said all the right things in every other respect.
You're still mentally ill. I'm sorry. I'm not going to vote for you. No, if you're screwed in the head, I'm not going to vote for you. Sorry. If you're a dude wearing a dress or vice versa, no, sorry, I'm not going to support you.
Okay, so let me ask you this about the MAGA base then.
Sure.
So who, if this is kind of one of the flashpoints, we saw the Ramaswamy flashpoint that happened very early on before Inauguration Day. Now, just this week, we saw Elon Musk raising the flashpoint about, I get, who cares that he has, that's not the point, that he has, financial interest in this. But he still raises the point that it's a bad bill because it's a bad friggin' bill. And now this Iran flashpoint with Tucker Carlson, who's also very close to Donald Trump. Those are three people that were very close in the Trump orbit during the election cycle that are now pushing back on the president. What do you think happens from here? Those are the three that I just named on what I would say right now, whether they are or are not. I don't care what people think if they, individually are or are not. At this point, at this juncture, those people, Tucker, Vivek, and Elon, on these particular issues, they seem to fall more in the populist camp.
You can take Vivek out. You take Vivek out of the equation. I mean, he committed political suicide, so he's done.
Well, he's running for governor of Ted's home state.
Yeah, and he'll lose. He'll lose.
I mean, he has no chance.
I mean,
no chance.
For a variety of reasons.
But I'm saying he started the first fracture. He started the first, and then it was Elon just this week, and last night, Tucker Carlson. So now on the other side of this, you have the Ben Shapiro's and the Mark Levins. So where does Trump world fall? Is it a 50-50 split? What is it?
It's going to be, because here's the thing about Trump world. We kind of covered this a little bit with the premium show with Lionel. There's a lot of people who are on Ted's side of the aisle who've actually come over to my side. Because if you're looking for an anti-war party, you've got MAGA. MAGA is an independent faction that transcends normal political lines. So we disagree with each other with a lot of things, but where we are united on is that we are against more foreign wars for other countries. That's the overarching umbrella. It's the anti-war movement, for lack of a better phrase.
Okay.
Trump is not a part of that. Trump is actually an enemy of MAGA. He branded it back in 2016. He gave it form. He really did. He resurrected the Tea Party is what he did.
Yep.
But now though his movement has outgrown him, and Trump is actually not only is he afraid of MAGA, he's actually an enemy of MAGA. That's why he's lashing out against Rand Paul and Thomas Massie.
Right.
Those are the two MAGA people in
like those
Congress.
guys.
I do too. And a lot of Democrats and a lot of libertarians and a lot of liberals and a lot of conservatives like them too. That's why you have the Republican Party and the Democratic Party working as a monolith to try and crush it. So what's going to happen is that the Republicans are going to get shellacked in the midterms because they have turned their back on the base that got Trump elected by a landslide in this second run. You heard it right here first. They are going to get their clocks cleaned because people like me are not going to show up for them. Now, two things could happen. You could actually have a America First MAGA types start trying to primary, in smaller weak districts, and if that happens, if we win some seats, you could have a political revolution. If it doesn't, if people just stay home, the beach is going to just keep on going as it is. Trump is going to keep on doing what he's doing right now, which is getting on his knees for Israel. Not necessarily Netanyahu. He doesn't like Netanyahu. But he is a creature of the Israel lobby. So there's that. The Democrats are going to keep on making noise about resisting. What exactly are they resisting? Because they're on the same page as Trump is when it comes to the wars and stuff. So nothing's going to change there. Everything's going to happen is going to happen on the behind the scenes. I think what's going to start happening is that you're going to start seeing more and more independent people get more and more prominent. And so you're going to have more Tucker Carlsons. I think what you're going to see is that the influence of people like Charlie Kirk is going to decrease, and you're going to have Jake Shields type people going up higher instead.
Wow. Okay. Okay, Ted. Ted's got
a little breaking news. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled unanimously in favor of that lady in Ohio who sued the state of Ohio for reverse discrimination. She was denied a promotion at the Ohio Department of Youth Services because she was straight. Instead, a lesbian was hired for the job. And then she got demoted to a lower position with less pay, and a gay dude took over her previous role.
Oh my God.
This was a unique case because she had to prove a violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination based on race, religion, national origin, and sex, including sexual orientation. Up until now, it only really worked in favor of minority plaintiffs, although there's nothing in the law that said that. It's just sort of the way that it's ruled. The U.S. Supreme Court now has ruled in her favor, kicked it back to the lower court and said, your ruling was wrong when you ruled against her, change it. And that's a unanimous ruling. I want to be clear here. The liberals voted with the conservatives here. So, it's kind of nice, by the way, to see a unanimous ruling on a contentious matter, because it just means that, like, there are still things that liberals and conservatives can agree upon in this country.
And like I said, that kind of stuff is almost blasphemous in the month of June being the holy month.
Yeah. Well, but Ted, I mean, you've heard my whole rant. Where am I wrong?
Oh, I think you're right. I think you're totally right. There's very little doubt in my mind. I mean, look, I don't understand how it is that the United States the U.S. government gets away with ignoring its own people's needs, and at the same time that it's sucking up and doing the bidding of another country. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't even think it's a left versus right thing.
I can answer that question.
If you have a nation state, you look out for your own people first.
I can answer that. I can answer that question for you.
Robbie, you're muted.
Oh, I can answer that question for you.
Maybe.
I think I was talking over you by accident. Yeah, I can answer that question for you. I mean, now, how is Israel able to kind of wag the dog? That's because of the white guilt from 1945. I mean, that's what it is. It's just, that's so weird.
Really?
Manila, you can hear me?
Yes.
Ted blocked me.
American white guilt?
Well, white guilt's monolithic, right? I mean, it's just, you have the racist whiteys, i.e. the Germans, who went on the Holocaust, this pogrom, and just killed 6 million Jews, okay? So we've got to atone for that, because America's sin is that we did not get involved earlier in that war. Right. Yeah. So that's the problem. And so then you got to set up, and so then to atone for this, you have to go in, and then you have to politically support this entity. Also, where it dovetail into this is with the birth of dispensationalism. I need to find some preacher to come on and actually just dissect this for you better than what I can. I'm a layman. Dispensationalism, basically what that teaches is that there's different ages in human history, but through all those ages, one of the things that's consistent is because of the promise that God made to the person of Abraham back in the book of Genesis, that you have to bless the Jewish people. And if you don't, God's going to curse you. That's a lie. The blessing is Jesus. It's not the nation of Israel.
Can I just say bless you?
Yeah, as far as why Ted can't hear me, I don't know. But basically,
no, I can hear you now. Yeah, but sorry, that was on my end. I'm an idiot. I'm a moron.
Oh, I am too. But I mean, that's really where this comes from. That is how the Jewish lobby was able to get as much power as it has, because they're able to infiltrate the churches.
They manipulated that passage.
Yeah, Very much so. And because one of the things, if you research how when the Scofield Bible was first printed back in the late 1890s, it was financed by a British bank via the Rothschild family. And that's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, that's true. Look it up. Then you had Lord Rothschild sitting with his telegram to the British, or it was the other way around, like the Balfour Declaration, saying, "Yeah, we're going to set this up for you. Never mind that there's already millions of people who are living here." But if you point that out, though, you're racist, you're anti-Semite, you're a conspiracy theorist, or like a Ben Shapiro come and say, "Oh, you're asking questions. Oh, you're asking questions. You're so bad. You're a racist."
Well, we know how history is so anti-Semitic. So anyway,
I mean,
I don't know if you guys have any more to say, but I'm running out.
Not about this. It's a shtick, though. I mean, it's like this has been their shtick.
It's worse
than
the
Zionists all along. It's worked for a long time. It's been a nice run. It's the same. It's analogous to how if you criticized Obama, you were racist or whatever. It's cheap. I think. Look, I think the Israelis, their blank check is overdrawn at this point, and more Americans are pretty much getting close to being done with them. I don't know if the Israelis sense that or not, but
they do. Ted, I guarantee you that. Why do you think they're deporting students for talking against genocide? It's because they can't win the argument. I mean,
right.
If calling people racist isn't enough anymore, what's the next step? Was it Thomas Friedman said, "Well, you can put Candace Owen and Tucker Carlson in jail for being anti-Semites, and then just start deporting students." That's the next step.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what's coming. So people need to wake the hell up. People need to wake up.
All right, and
I
we'll leave
more.
that
and
there.
I would like to talk about this Columbia thing. Just briefly.
Let's do it.
So Columbia University, yesterday, the Secretary of Education, aka Mrs. WWE, has just decided to strip Columbia University of its accreditation, which means that if you graduate from Columbia going forward, all kidding aside, this only applies to people going forward, your degree would not technically, this would be kind of like in the early days of Liberty University, where it wasn't an accredited school. You get a degree, but it's not formally recognized as a real degree. This, I think, would put Columbia University out of business.
That's crazy.
I mean, why would anyone attend a school that's not? Now, the thing is that the justification that that Mrs. WWE is providing here, Mrs. McMahon, is that there's that Columbia hasn't done enough to fight anti-Semitism, which is code for crackdown on pro-Palestinian protesters.
And you see how that feeds back in what I was just now talking to you about?
But it's also insane because Columbia has only cracked down on pro-Palestinian protesters. They have expelled them, suspended them, stripped them of their diplomas after they graduated, let ICE into the dorms to arrest them and deport them. They have not said a word to support their own students. They've banned demonstrations on campus. They've banned student organizations like Jewish Voice for Peace, which, by the way, is Jewish. They are their own. So, I mean, it's insane. It's literally like, I don't know. It's like going after the WWE for being too highbrow or something. It's just couldn't be more wrong. Obviously, Columbia's lawyers are going to go to court today and sue the administration, and I'm sure some judge will issue a restraining order here or a temporary stay. But it's like literally they're looking to destroy an Ivy League school.
Let me tell you how Columbia could fix this problem
right now.
Would it
be no longer Ivy League then if it loses its accreditation?
That's a good question. I doubt it. I mean, but Robbie, go ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you how they can fix this. Remember how Elon Musk went on that apology tour with Ben Shapiro after he bought Twitter? Mm-hmm. Columbia University's president, if Columbia's president does that, goes to Israel, kisses Benjamin Netanyahu's ring,
Oh,
then goes on a tour to all of the
Oh,
concentration camps, and it says, "Oh, I
right.
see you, I hear you," and then you put up a great big honking Star of
You go
David
to the
right there
Wailing
over the
Wall.
door, and you go, you put on your stupid
You
little
do the
hat, you go
whole.
kiss the wall. If you do
Yeah.
that, Colombia's problems end.
Oh, I see what you're
Colombia's
right.
problems
Elon
end.
did that. Right.
And I'm telling you right now, I can already hear people's heads exploding. There's Robbie's being racist. Robbie's not being racist. This is the power of the Jewish lobby. Let's call it what it is. To fix a problem, no matter what the problem is, you have to call it by its actual name. And you have to identify it. I'm not saying Jewish people are bad. I am saying that this lobby needs to be broken. Those are.
Well, we heard
this is what I'm
Massey.
saying.
We heard Thomas Massey on Tucker Carlson's podcast show talking about how he's literally the only one out of 435 congressmen. He's the only one that doesn't have his own AIPAC handler.
He's the only one.
434 others have them.
That's crazy.
This is where the whole question of dual loyalty comes up, because you cannot be loyal to two countries at the same time. You got to pick one. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. All right. I guess we should end that
Wrap
there.
it up.
And I'll make the I'm going to make the last comment is that if you and Robbie ever disagree with me, Chad, you guys are doing Asian hate. So
yeah, but listen, now that you are a designated terrorist from the terrorist state of Laos, the Pathet Lao will rise again. It's about time, I have to say, that we put you people back in your place. You've been running roughshod over, you control Congress, the banking system.
That is true.
The media, the fast food industry, the shoe industry.
You think there are fewer Jews in the world? Think again. There's only like 8 million-ish total Lao people in the world. There's only like 6 million in Laos.
The power is so disproportionately.
But that's what I'm saying. We're a very elite group of people.
Much of the solar system is controlled by the Laos.
Very elite. You don't know what's in those caves, Ted. So if you don't agree with me,
creepy crawlies.
You don't know what we got planned in those caves with all the Lao people. And if you and Robbie,
shifty people you are.
If you and Robbie don't agree with me, you are doing Asian hate. Otherwise,
as someone who's terrified of you, I will always agree with you.
Deport them all. Deport them all.
If the Jews can have their anti-Semitism, I can have my anti-Asianism. You guys are doing anti-Asian. You're doing anti-Asian.
Deport them all.
Don't do it.
I am good with that.
All right, guys, that's going to do it.
I'm equal
My
opportunity.
voice is running out.
Just
I am running out here. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern for a fry. It's not a Friday because we're slated to have I don't want to say it's like sad and depressing, but maybe it's motivational because the man lost his son to suicide due to bullying, and now he's doing good things, moving forward in his son's name, talking about how. And honestly, schools are not, I don't know what's up with schools, Ted. I mean, you're more closely in line with how this works because you have a college age son, but like, are schools just not doing a good job of handling this shit? Has it just gotten worse? Like, a lot to talk about tomorrow.
Okay.
On a not Friday.
Schools are definitely better at this than they used to be, but they're, when I was at Columbia, my first few days of school, a kid from my dorm jumped in front of the subway train at 116th Street. The NYPD came up. We all followed them into his room, and he had written his suicide note in tiny little like El Marco writing all over the walls, which were cinder blocks.
What?
And all over the ceilings, all over the walls, all covered the entire thing. I wish I'd had a camera. It was kind of like an amazing
with just
final art project
all over.
But all the reasons that life isn't worth living. There was also a kid who I remember this was a really great example of what a shitty job they did. all right, so I had a mental health crisis. Well, I'll tell two stories. I had a mental health crisis. I go to the health service, and I'm sure it's better now, but they were like, "Oh, you're entitled to 3 visits." I was like, 3? Yeah, you can see a therapist 3 times.
Okay.
So I went in. So I went in, and it was like your typical, like, "Tell me about your mother," and then and I was like, I came out of it. And I was like, the good news is, 1 was enough. I never want to see this guy again because he was so bad.
So you feel better?
Yeah,
after one visit?
So they were of no assistance whatsoever. There was a woman, one of my classmates. I didn't know her personally, but she spent summer session at Barnard, which is part of Columbia.
Okay.
And over the summer, we used to have like wall phones, right? This was pre-cell phones. And to have an outside line, you had to contract with the phone company, which used to be New York Telephone, became Verizon. And you had to like reach out to them and arrange for your phone to be connected. Well, for whatever reason, the university refused to have dealings with the phone company in the summer. And so in the summer months, you couldn't get an outside line. If you wanted to use a phone, you have to go to a pay phone. Well, anyway, this woman, she was mentally ill. I mean, she was in mental crisis, and she was from Philadelphia. She couldn't call her therapist. She couldn't call her parents, and she spiraled out. And one day she hurled herself out the window and landed on the spiked fence below her window. And the New York Post very sensitively ran the headline with the photo of it, "Shish Coed." But the point is that I was always like, would it really have been so hard to say we're going to open an outside line for this lady? Really, truly make an exception. The parents had like begged the school to make an exception for her, and they just wouldn't.
Well,
they're better than they used to be. Well, and they just didn't care about us at all.
You were in school at a more privileged area. Obviously, the students were more privileged, and because where I grew up, Ted, I literally don't know one person that has suicided, committed suicide. Not one, but I know more than half a dozen people who were murdered. Murdered. I'm not talking about car accidents. I'm not talking about slip and falls and. Sure, that stuff happens. I'm talking about murdered. Murder 1. Not even murder 2. Murder 1. These people, and I know some of the people
4.
that did murder 1. And the victims found in trunks, found shot in their beds. I told the story the other day of my godmother shot in the face, right? Psycho at the door. Okay. So where I'm from, I find that there's an interesting disparity there, that when you're from a rough area, like where it was when I was a kid anyway, it was a rough area. It's very much gentrified now. Not 100%, but relative to when I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Where I'm from, nobody committed suicide. You get shot. You get murdered. Couple shanks in there, a couple stabbies, but it was mostly shootings where I'm from. I'm not talking about car accidents. I mean, I'm literally talking, I know people who were murdered, never anyone that committed suicide.
Well, are you implying that suicide is a privileged action? Because that's not true. I mean, lots of poor people commit suicide.
I'm sure that's true, but I feel like they're more often than not for the same reason that we see a lot of rainbow flag kids coming out of very wealthy families, like celebrity families. And you really don't hear about rainbow flag kids growing up where I'm from. Maybe now, I don't know, because it's, like I said, gentrifying, but in East LA,
well, they can't fly there. They might be rainbowy, but they can't show their rainbow flag because they're afraid of. They're afraid.
Well, things have changed. Well, there's Robbie. Yeah, I opened a can of worms.
I mean, listen, whoever you want to have sex with, I really don't care. But whenever you start trying to say, I become a privileged elite person because of where I decide I'm going to put my schlong. Sorry, you're not special. You're not special.
I'm
No,
sure.
your case of schlong COVID does not make you any more special than anybody else. Do not care. And if you're
I'm just saying.
if you're training just mentally ill, go get some help. Seriously, go get some help. You're a dude or you're a woman. There's two genders. Yeah, YouTube, I just said it. There's two genders.
So,
It is what it is.
There's that. I'm just saying I find it more often than not that we hear about people from more affluent
Well, it's because
backgrounds.
Well, of course.
Suicide.
The big part of it is, Manila, is because the news media, they're going to cover who people have got more wealth and more power. I mean, no one cares.
That's fair.
No one cares about some poor kid, who's overdosing on meth versus some
Which
collegiate
is a form of suicide.
Of course it is. And then you got some collegiate who can't handle it because their gender studies class got canceled, and so you decide to go off yourself. Which of those two is more headline worthy? It's not the dude in Mississippi.
Not even just offing themselves. I'm saying in general, when you go to East LA or into Watts, I will tell you from personal experience that it's few and far that you're going to see rainbow flaggy types.
People who grew
around Watts, Compton.
They're there. It's just like they have to lay low.
People who grew up poor, because all three of us who are
Brentwood,
here.
You go to Brentwood, you will find rainbow flags everywhere and people that identify as.
What's your point?
Well,
just saying, the prevalence seems to be more common in Brentwood than Watts.
I think that
because those are liberal areas.
I think that people who grow up in a working class environment, like the three of us did, just frankly are more mentally tough than someone who grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth and always given everything. If you have to root hog or die, you get this thing called a spine, and you just take it. When the storm comes, just deal with it. I mean, it is what it is. I think that's a big part of it. If you have someone who's never had a struggle in their life and everything's been given to them, and they're told, "Oh, you're so special, Johnny. You're so special. You're so privileged," and all of a sudden the world really reminds you that it owes you nothing, then a lot of people, they just can't process that, and it breaks them. So they go to SSRIs, get on drugs or dope, or just choose to opt out like the cowards that they are.
I agree with you, Robbie. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? I mean, that's what it
different
is.
Conversation than some. I really feel for the man. Hopefully he comes through, but the man that, his son was only 11 years old.
I taught my son 11. Early on, if somebody, and 11. Keep in mind, I live in Montana with a half black kid, two half black kids,
right?
A son and a daughter. And I told my son, I said, if someone comes up and he starts bullying you, turn the other cheek. But if he keeps on doing it, you feed that bastard his teeth.
That's right.
That's what it is. There's a solution for bullying. You beat that ass, and you beat it till he can't stand no more.
You kind of can't let it go. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's rules in my house
there's
too.
No other
Don't
way.
start things. Don't start things, but mommy will be on your side if you finish them.
Agreed.
I told my son Thomas, I said, if you come home and some little punk is bullying you and you don't stand up for yourself, that bullies will release your problems. Your biggest problem is going to be me. You deal with it.
I'm okay.
All right, then.
I don't know. We'll see. All right.
Let's wrap.
That's it, guys. Thanks. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Bye.
Adios, amigos.